Okay, for the continuation, we are down to the giant planets, wherein it composes also for four giant planets in the solar system. We have giant planets, a gas and ice worlds, or the Jovian planets. The first Jovian planet is what we call this one as the Jupiter, or the fifth planet in the solar system. Is the most massive of the planets, 2.5 times the mass of the outer planets combined. Jupiter's visible surface is not solid; it is a gas giant. Everything visible on planet is a cloud. So all of those things are just um, a gaseous state. So kanan siya mga gas na siya. True color picture of Jupiter taken by the Cassini. Cassini is a telescope, an expedition on its way to Saturn using during closest approach. The smallest feature visible are only 60 kilometers across. So Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. So mga bonds niya makita sa Jupiter, which is very good, a very nice feature. Actually, these are gases ha. These are storms. The different colors of the clouds represents different chemicals. We have ammonia, um, ammonium, hydrosulfide, and water. The reddish region are the coolest. Anong red na area, that is a coolest region of the surface of the Jupiter. They sit highest up to the atmosphere. We have also another feature of the Jupiter, the red giant. Nisa. A red giant is a giant storms that has been ranging for at least 355 years since its discovery by Robert Hooke in 1664. Imagine kinisha is years. 355 years na siya nga nag-exist after na-discover siya. Daw kay siya nga storm. Actually, the movement of gases in the Jupiter are mostly, these are storms. So every day na storm sa ilaha, gabagyo kano na sa ilaha. Natay mga red giant, isa the red giant or great red spot. Ini siya mga small nga mga swirl. These are also storms. Na mga storms na siya, movement sa mga gases sa Jupiter. Jupiter has at least 63 moons, the four largest of which are known as the Galilean satellite or Galilean moons. So Galilean moons because these four satellites or these four moons of Jupiter was discovered by Galileo Galilei. So named after Galileo Galilei, that is why Galilean satellites. From left to right, we have Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. These are some of the famous moons in the Jupiter, or what they call this one, Galilean moons. These are part of Galileo's journal from 1610 in Gibuhat. Three of these moons are bigger than the Earth's moon, and Ganymede larger than Mercury. Oh, so this is one of the largest moons in the solar system. It takes only 1.8 days to orbit Jupiter. Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto takes 2 times, 4 times, and 9.3 times as long as to go around. So it's how they revolve around the planet Jupiter. All 4 moons are worlds in their right and quite different from each other. Callisto is covered by icy craters. So mga ice na siya. While the surface of the Ganymede, this is the Callisto. Shows both craters ice flows. This is also a composed of ice flows. Europa completely covered with ice, the smoothest object of the solar system, and this one, Io covered with volcanoes, the most volcanically active world in the solar system. So even in mga moons sa other planets have volcanoes which is active po. Depende sa iyang composition. The next planet after Jupiter is what we call this one as a Saturn. Saturn is almost as large as Jupiter, or 85% of the diameter, but has only 30% of Jupiter's mass, like Jupiter, it is as a giant, as a gas giant. It is remarkably a very nice angle because siya ang pinaka-beautiful nga planet in the solar system because of its rings. Di siya ring, dagan na siya nga ring. So that is why rings siya. The most obvious feature of Saturn's are eminence rings. The ring system is remarkably complex and is still poorly understood. It was Huygens who around 1655 recognized that Saturn was girdled by a thin flat ring nowhere touching it. So, based sa itong na-discover ni Galileo Galilei, sa iyang observation, actually, abin niya kung sa'y forma sa, abin niya kalo or something like because of features niya kay dark pa man kaayo iyang, or low pa man kaayo, gamay pa man kayo magnification sa iyang telescope mo gigamit. But because of the improving technology, so mas na-clarify nila nga that murag circle na nagpalibot is dili siya murag kalo but a ring. Kamanlay basa na. A ring are extremely thin, possibly only 10 meters thick, and composed almost entirely a chunk of water ice. So these following rings niya composed of icy object or water ice. Kana siya. And also, the gaps in the rings are kept clear by Saturn's many moons either orbiting within them or clearing them via gravity. The Cassini satellite took this sequence of images which shows how thin the rings are. So Cassini is an expedition featuring the planet Saturn. Iyang objective is to study or to capture more about the Saturn. So, muna siya iyang images na nakita niyang formation sa ring. Like Jupiter, Saturn has a large family of moons. Titan is the largest, larger than the Mercury, and second only to Ganymede. So, the biggest moon in the or satellite in the solar system is what we call the Ganymede, and the second is a Titan, which is the satellite of Saturn. So these are some of the moons of the Saturn. 16 satellites orbit within the main ring themselves. That's it. The 6 medium-sized icy worlds are tidally locked, keeping the same face towards planet as they orbit. Like the relatively orderly Galilean satellite of Jupiter, Saturn system of satellites shows few regularities. So, naglayan mo siya ang mga sizes ang mga moons niya. Amon nalay basa ni, these are some of the examples of moons or satellites of Saturn with its description, say features niya. Don't worry, I will be giving you this PowerPoint presentation so that you can review. Manalay basa na. Beyond Saturns are the two ice giants. We have Uranus and Neptune. They are very similar in size, though Neptune is slightly more massive. Methane gives the planets their blue-green or blue appearance. Neptune is slightly more massive. Methane gives the planets blue-green or blue appearance. Uranus was discovered in 1781 by William Herschel, musician and amateur astronomer. Herschel became the first person in recorded history to discover a new planet at a stroke doubling the size of of the known solar system. In fact, Uranus has been detected mistaken by a star on 22 occasions during its preceding century. But William Herschel is the only person na nakadiscover niya. This is a planet which is part of the solar system. After Herschel's discovery, Uranus was not moving as predicted. Until 1822, it seemed to accelerate it in its orbit and to slow after that. Two young mathematicians independently suggested it must be being pulled off course by a new planet. That is John Cole Adams, predicted the positions of the planet. Neptune was discovered by Johann Galilei in 1846, leading to an international dispute over priority. On July 12, 2011, Neptune completed its first orbit since its discovery. Um, Basically, these two are mga bago rin sila nga na-discover ng mga planets sa mga modern era na sila discover. But before that, katupag yun until Saturn lang na-discover niya planets. But they believe, some of the scientists or some of the astronomers believe that there are some planets beyond Saturn. But mo na siya ang problema nila. They need evidences for us to address if the waton mo siya nga planets or dili. Mo na siya nga dugay pug kayo ang acceptance sa mga tao on this discoveries. Unlike the other planets, Uranus' axis of rotation is tilted to lie almost the plane of its orbit. This means it has a very bizarre seasons, with its pole being sunlit from 42 Earth years. During this time, the pole received more light than the equator. Before being plunged into darkness for the next 42 years. So nana ang forma niya sa Uranus. Pabali siya. Actually, ang Uranus has a nana siya yung ring pod, but dili siya maklaro nga ring. But actually, these four planets in the Jovian planets has its ring, but some of the planets is like Neptune, Uranus, and also Jupiter is nag-fade na ang iyang rings. That is why actually there are researches na mabot ang time niya ang Saturn, ang ring sa Saturn will also fade until such time na mahurot na pud siya. But this one, ang Uranus din ana iyang feature. That is why topsy-turvy ang iyang posisyon. Pabali siya ba? Kumbaga, nasubraan ang iyang pag-tilt. Some of the planets nakatilt naman nga ana siya gamay, pati iya kay nakabaligid siya ang movement. Kumbaga, supposedly other planets ang mas grabe nga mainitan sa sun is the equator, but nahitabo sa iyang pole na noon ang mas mainitan because of its movement. Or agrat kay siya iyang movement niya. Neptune has 13 moons, only 2 visible from Earth, Triton and Nereid. Both have peculiar orbit. Nereid's orbit is highly eccentric and Triton is unique among large planetary satellites because it orbits backward, opposite on the sense of the planet's rotation. And that is the movement of the moons of Neptune. That is Triton. Kamu na basa. Everything else, tiny worlds beyond. We have these other members of the solar system. These are the dwarf planets such as Eris, Pluto, Makemake, Haumea, Sedna, 2007 OR10, Quar, and Orcus. These are some of the um, rocky material or rocky object in beyond the solar system. Wherein sometimes um, we, we misdefine this one as a planet, but these are some of the dwarf planets in the solar system. Yan lang kung may sasama. And for now, I think that's it for this lesson. I will be explaining to you more about the Earth this following or the next lesson. For now, thank you for listening. If you have any question, just comment down your question to our comment box for I will entertain that questions to you. God bless us all and thank you for watching.